Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline Heward and I'm the Harley Street Stress Expert. Today's show is Talking Heads and I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is why is selling and buying your new home stressful? Let's begin. I usually start with a quote, but today I'm starting very differently. And you might notice that I'm actually in a different color. I'm in red, and that is because the foundation, your foundation, and the root chakra is red. And buying and selling your home is part of your foundations, your stability. It's your firm foundation, where your roots are. So I depicted this man with roots, and this is exactly what your home represents. Your home is where your absolute foundation, your rock, your security, your safety, your mechanism for feeling safe and secure. And so I've also depicted concrete foundation because we can have a foundation at times and it's not concrete, it's not secure, it's kind of insecure. And we've had some houses that have not been secure and they've been washed away in floods, or they've caught fire, or the foundations have been insecure in terms of the way that the building is, so subsidence. And this is actually how we function. So the root chakra is where the tail end of the spine meets the genital area. And the root chakra is where our absolute foundational support mechanism is. And what do I mean by that? If you look at the spine, if you look at the back, the entire back is supported by the spine. And so if there is anything that's not secure, anything that's not stable, the whole thing, the whole function of the body falls over. And this is what the home represents. When the home is not stable, safe, secure, giving you the shelter that you need, giving the reliability, the comfort that you need, our foundations are insecure and we feel rocky. If you consider a property developer, when they're building a property, they spend probably weeks, months even, building a hole. Well, that's what it looks like from the outside. They're focusing on building that hole. And we don't see anything apart from a hole. And then all of a sudden, then the house gets built up on top of it. And it's quick. It's really quick. And everything becomes the house very quickly. But for months, they're in a hole, building bridges, building skirtings, building structure and firm foundations for the property. And so this is what our home is. It represents our absolute foundational security. And if it's not secure, if there is any challenges with the home, it will have an absolutely incredibly difficult effect on you in terms of feeling unstable. So the fact that the root chakra is where the home and the safety and the security is why we get stressed when we're selling and buying or even moving home. If we're even in the space of renting, when we're moving home, we're literally moving our whole foundation and our security. I want to look at mindset. Attachment. Some of us, and I am one of those people, can get very attached to your home. It's because it's where we go, where we feel safe, secure, where we can be ourselves, where we feel that everything is there, the nourishment that we need. And Buddha says the root of suffering is attachment. So let's explore attachment. When we get attached to things and to people, we actually stop, and when we're attached, we actually shut down the way that we can connect and interrelate with others and the world at large and the field. What do I mean by that? When we become attached to things, to people, to situations, we give ourselves an inability to be able to move forward into something else. I'm going to give you an example. I decided to sell my London home back in June 2020 when the rules for lockdown in the UK became less and were removed to the point that people were able to go about their business, and shops and places and businesses began to open again. And I decided, well, I want a garden and I don't want to live here anymore. And so I was still attached to my lifestyle in London and my home. And what I did was I put my home on the market to sell. I'm going to explore the functionality of the words that we use as we go through this talk. But for now, it is important to understand when we are attached to something, someone, a situation, it presents a situation where we cannot bring in what we really truly want because we have an attachment to what is there. So looking at mindset again, sell your property, not your home. And why do I say this? Because I remember saying, I'm selling my beautiful home. And my home in London was very beautiful. In talking about my beautiful home, I had one particular friend that said, it sounds like you have an attachment to your home and that you're not actually ready to sell it yet. And I thought it was a really interesting insight, and an insight I hadn't considered, because for at least 2.5 years, just over 2 years, I was talking about selling my beautiful home. And then I started to focus on what I was looking for, what I wanted, and the home I wanted to create. And in focusing on what I wanted to go to rather than on what I was leaving, something changed. And my wording changed. I don't quite remember when it happened, but I suddenly started saying, I'm selling my beautiful property. And as soon as I used the word property, it was like a release of the attachment of the home. It was very powerful. So what words are you using when you are looking to sell your home, your family home? Because this is what we talk about, selling our family home, selling the home that I've been living in at that point for me, 15 years. Of course, I was attached to things, to the area, to the neighbours, to my beautiful home, because it was really lovely. I was attached to the lifestyle, the culture, and what I had. And I was looking for a home, a property in a different location where I didn't know what there was. And I was looking for a beach home. And then that didn't work out because there were floods. And then I didn't know what to look for. And so when we don't know and we're unfocused about what we want, we'll end up sticking with what we've got. And that's because the universe doesn't know what to give you because you're being unclear. And so I had an attachment to being able to get to London easily. So it couldn't be far away. And then it was difficult to find somewhere because I was still attached to the area. And there was a point I let go, totally let go. And then I decided to focus on the type of home that I was looking for. And the stressors literally dissolved. And the stress is placed, and we are working in the stressors when we're unfocused and unclear. And it is literally about being clear about what you are looking for and where you want to be versus where you are and what you're letting go of. So when you focus on where you want to be, there is less stress because the whole movement of your intention, your energy, and the focus of you buying your new home will focus on where you're going rather than what you're leaving behind. So here's looking at a stressor of photography for selling. I went through a number of different estate agencies during that period. And it was a 2.5 year period that I was going through a number of different ones, and they took the photography of the home in different ways. The first estate agent just pictured my home, took the photographs of my home as it was. The second one, with all my collectibles and paraphernalia and all my little gizmo gadgets and all my ornaments and everything that was, my home was in those photographs. They also did a very, very, what I would now believe was an intrusive video that videoed everything, every corner, every nook and cranny. And then I decided when I was offered video photography, I said no, because we don't need to show the world everything that we have. And the second company that I went with, they asked me to clear the collectibles, the ornaments. And the third company said, I want you to clear that and do more. But what changed was that it was less about, hey, look at my home with all my fancy gizmos and ornaments and glassware and pictures and things that make it my home. And it became more a property that I was selling. Even though it was stressful to remove everything and clear everything for the photography, it was then preparing for selling my property rather than selling my home. Because people aren't buying your home, they're buying their future home. They're buying what they will put their rubber stamp on and make theirs. And remember, it's the root chakra. So this is your foundation, your security, your stability. This is where you're going to place your roots. And this is where the other person is. So they don't want to see too much of you. They want to see more of what they could picture as what could be their future home. And this is very much worth bearing in mind. What is the person looking for? The stress of the photography, of the preparation, was incredibly high because I had to clear a lot of me. I had to put away a lot of things that were me. And that caused me a lot of stress because I was literally dismantling my home So it became less my home and more something for the estate agent to work with. Looking at more stressors, why are viewings stressful? Well, if you're doing a good viewing and you want the person to look at your property as a potential home for them, viewings are stressful because you have to put your stuff away. If you are being a good vendor, it's really important to make sure that you tidy up your paperwork, that it's not so visible and on show. I had a very full home and I had a lot of stuff in all of the rooms. I needed to upsize my property because my office was literally full to the brim. I wasn't living in just a home. I actually had my office at home too. So I was moving home and office, which was very large and was full of books and paper and files. So when people were viewing, they were viewing not only my home, but actually my office too, which was stressful. And the viewing generally only lasted about 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. And it's a huge thing to be selling and buying when you've only got that small window. It's a very tiny window for a huge investment of money, of time, and your home. And all of these things, the pressure of being able to make a decision that quickly when you are buying a new home and selling your home is huge. And it's the largest investment that any of us will probably make. So viewings are when you're literally allowing strangers who you've never met before to wander around your home, to view it, to look at it in the eyes of, could it be their home? And it's actually quite an intrusive experience. At first, I wouldn't let a company come in and me not be there because I felt very uncomfortable. I said, this is my home. It has my things. I don't want anyone, and I don't want you to be around my home. But I was literally given, you have to not be there, otherwise we can't sell your property. So I handed keys over. My keys were my safety and my security. And I handed my keys to the estate agents. I then had an experience that an estate agent shouted through the door one Saturday morning when I was in the shower. I'd literally just come out of the shower in shower cap and towel, and the estate agent was saying, coming in, coming in. And I was absolutely in shock. And normally I was out most weekends in training. That particular weekend, I was still at home. And I was scared to death. The close hour was up. I'd just come out of the shower, so I was in a towel with a shower cap, and my home wasn't ready for a viewing. And I'd handed my keys over. I didn't feel safe anymore. I told the estate agent to go away, that they hadn't arranged the viewing. I didn't know anything about it, and my home wasn't ready. Notice my wording, my home wasn't ready to be viewed. He went away, scurried away, and then I made a complaint. And after that, I insisted that the estate agent paid for a new set of keys, and I never allowed my keys out of my focus ever again. And I had 2 further estate agents after that experience, and I never gave my keys over until I was ready. And there are lots of stories about estate agents using properties that they know full well are vacant. The people that own them are not there. And it was a horrific experience. That we don't know what happens when we're not there. And this was an experience that I had that caused my stress levels to go through the roof. And the reason for that was because it was my home, and I'd given my security and my safety to someone else that didn't know me. And this person was a young person. And he said, I'm sorry, I just thought it'd be okay. But what it did do is it made me realise that my safety and security, my home security, was paramount to me. And this is one of the things that I realised about the root chakra, that I'd given my keys away so anyone could use them to enter my home. So I quickly remedied that and never gave my keys away again to anyone. I wasn't in the properties when the viewings were being done, but I was not far away. I took a walk and I was there straight away as soon as the visit was over. But having strangers around your home, looking at your things and walking through with their shoes, and that's something else that I insisted on, that they took their shoes off because this was my home and I had wooden flooring. Researching. What makes researching for your new home stressful? Well, I was looking initially in Wales and I lived in London. So I didn't have this adventure of being able to drive around, not that I can drive around the properties that I wanted to see and have a look at the areas because it was so far away. So I had to rely on my research online, which was stressful because there was a lot of properties. I put my key attributes in that I was looking for. I had a budget. I had the type of house that I was looking for. But at that time, when I first started looking, I was looking for a new house, a property. And when I was searching for properties in South Wales, properties in various areas. I wasn't looking for my new home. So I wasn't using those words. So there was a detachment of home and property. And I was looking at lots of properties that were four bare walls, and it was really hard for me online to picture my home. It was actually so much easier for me to picture how my home would look in that property when there was a little bit of furniture. Otherwise, it just looked like four walls in each room. But you know, it's really interesting how properties are sold. It's powerful because you have to picture, and it's really stressful if you're not very visual. And so I was looking very extensively at the descriptions. What were the sizes of the rooms? And if there were pictures where there was a bed in, I was looking at how big was the room with the bed and was there much space? I was looking for properties with high ceilings. Very rarely did they say that. Sometimes they said period property. But I went to view some properties in an area, and even though the square footage was what I was looking for, it was nothing like I was looking for. And I was really disheartened and disappointed. And looking for my new home became a full-time job, day and night. I couldn't sell my beautiful home and yet not know where I was going. I really focused on area. I wanted beach, I wanted sea, I wanted water. I wanted to be close to the beach. I wanted that feeling of being close to the coast. But the reality of that in the UK in particular wasn't a very good one, because in the coast it's actually very wet, very windy, and can be very blowy, and it's not as sunshine as what it can be in other international waters. And I spent a couple of days looking around the Kent coast area, and I went on days with a couple of people that were really cold and wet and windy and rainy. And I realised, maybe I don't want to live right on top of the coast. Maybe that's not a great idea. But I experienced things that I wasn't prepared for. I had an idyllic picture in my head of what I wanted, but actually the reality was something quite different. I was bleary-eyed. I spent many, many hours, days, nights, all night sometimes, just looking at properties, looking for the right one. And when I eventually did venture out to look, the properties were damp in the coast. So I had to rethink. So I'd held on to this image, this idyllic image of finding a property on the coast. It just didn't stack up in my reality. So what did I do? I thought, oh, you know what? If I can't find a property on the coast that is right for me because they're damp, maybe I just need to come a little further up. And this is when I started to become less attached to areas and less attached to what I had as an image in my mind in terms of the area, the location. And something happened, something changed. The kind of property that I was looking for appeared. And it was because instead of being fixed, I had an image of what my new home would look like. It would have a gate at the front, a big black gate like one of my neighbours had. It would have high ceilings because I'd been used to living in a period property. So it would have high ceilings because when I looked at properties that were the same square footage that I was looking for, I found that they were small because the ceilings were normal. And I realised that there was something here that was not negotiable. It had to have high ceilings. And suddenly I started to have a better and a clearer image and a vision of what my new home would look like. And I let go of the location. And in letting go of the location, that new home, what I was looking for appeared. But it was because I let go of the attachment of location, of what I wanted to be in that home. I had some focuses. It had to have a garden, high ceilings, a gate. And I was looking for certain features, like one of those old mantelpiece fireplaces. I wanted those chandeliers. And in having some visual imagery of what I was looking for, I found it. Because I let go of being attached to a specific place, a specific area, and a specific home. So what happens when you sell quickly? This happened to me. Our house sold quicker than we planned. Now we have to live for free in my parents' guest house until we find one to buy. I know many people that actually have sold their home and then haven't found another home to go to. So what is going on there when that happens? There is a lack of focus on synchronizing, selling your home and buying your new home. They have to be synchronized, otherwise it doesn't work. I did sell my home, but I synchronized buying my new home, and this is what can cause the stressor. Why is packing and moving so stressful? Because it's about decluttering. It's about changing and letting go of things. Realizing that if you've been living in your home for a long time, that you collect and collate a lot of things in the drawers, in the cupboards. Unless we move, we don't see some things for many years. And when you're packing, suddenly you find things that you didn't find or didn't know about or couldn't remember for a long time. And you thought that you had that, but you just can't find it. So then you go and buy it again. One of the things that I did, because I've been living in my property for 15 years, is I enlisted a removal company that packed for me and loaded the van and moved me and unpacked, unloaded the lorry into the various rooms. And for me, that generated a lot less stress. It depends on how much that you have. But what they did was they took that stressor away from me on the packing, and it helped me feel less stressful in terms of that initial packing and moving. Why is communication key? It's key because there are many stakeholders in selling your home and buying a new home. There are many people that you have to communicate with. There's the estate agent. There is your solicitors. In England, we call them solicitors, or the legal side of things. There is also, if you're selling and buying your new home, there is the estate agent from the place that you're buying, who are liaising with the legal team of the vendor that is selling. And so it causes challenges if you're not specific and precise in your communication. It is absolutely integral to develop good rapport with whoever you are speaking to, so that you're all on the same page, because you're not their only client, you're not the only person that they're working with. And it is important to have clear communication and to have skills where you are listening to exactly what they're saying, what they need, what you need to do, and being the best buyer and seller that you can possibly be, so that you can move your dream into reality of moving into your new home. It is important when you are speaking to each stakeholder in your selling and your buying process that you champion the right person, so that they have your interests at heart, as well as you understanding what they need. It is important to ask questions, the right questions. How long is this going to take? What is the process of this? How does this work? So that you understand their process, so that it works for you and for them. Why it's important to find your champion. It's really important to find the people that have a vested interest. There is a process, and there is a lot of stakeholders to communicate in that process. There is a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And one of the most important things that I have realized, it is about connection and about communicating. Do they trust you? This is why some properties, some homes can still be on the market for years. It can be that they're still in the buying process for many months, even a year or more. And that is because everything has to synchronize. I found my champions. I found that in connecting with the main person that had an interest in selling my property and communicating with them, keeping them updated of where I was important. Having a good rapport and having a friendly rapport in terms of understanding what they need and supplying them what they need very quickly. It's important to understand that you're not the only person. And so you can be the best client, you can be the best seller and the best buyer by understanding what their needs are and communicating back as quickly as they need you to communicate. Otherwise, you get left to the bottom of the pile. Why is the legal paperwork so stressful? Well, it's really stressful because the legal people have a job to do to make it all go through. And they are swimming in paperwork. And what I didn't realize is that in England particularly, that they still have faxes. I couldn't believe it in our time of change and tech, that they still have faxes and they still fax things because some documentation cannot be emailed. It must be faxed. It must be a true representation of documentation. And I thought it was amazing. I thought, wow, do faxes still exist? My mortgage company actually asked, they said, do you have a fax number for your solicitor? And I just thought it was incredible. No, I haven't seen a fax number anywhere, but he did have a fax number. And it was just a little important piece that I didn't know that could have speeded up the process. Always ask, what do you need? The solicitors the legal profession have a lot of paperwork to get through. And you have to have attention to detail. You have to look over it, and won't be tired if you didn't look over it and just sign it on and say, this is approved, this is okay. Check it and double check it and triple check it. Don't be harangued into deadlines and not checking the paperwork. Because if you don't check the paperwork and make sure that you are happy with everything, it'll be to your peril. And the legal side of the sale and the purchase of your property is integral. This is your largest ever purchase, and it is important to look at the I's and dot the T's and look through everything to make sure that you are happy. The legal profession want you to be happy, and you have to get through the legalese paperwork. If you don't understand something, ask them. Ask them to explain. I had an incredible solicitor that if I didn't understand something, he explained. And he would de-jargon some of the jargon. I thought he was amazing. In the de-jargoning of things that were important, it helped me understand what I was looking at. And it changed when I was selling and buying, which was my second experience. It changed how I looked at the legal documentation from the first time I bought to the second time. And that was because I had attention on making sure that everything was right. Because I did slip up the first time by not checking the documentation thoroughly and landed up with my parking space on the opposite side to where I expected it to be. The legal people have your interests at heart. They want your sale and your purchase to succeed. But you have to communicate with them in their way. And usually their way is written. It's not usually in calls. It's written. And you have to communicate in their way. Otherwise, they lose interest and they won't speak to you on the phone, because they have attention to detail and they have more than you as a client. Here's a quote by a beautiful monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. It is not impermanence that makes us suffer. What makes us suffer is wanting things to be permanent when they are not. Thich Nhat Hanh. Rest in peace. Thich Nhat Hanh was an incredible monk, and he brought Buddhism to the West in some very big ways in terms of translating the Buddhist culture and way of being to the West. And he provided lots of mindfulness courses. One of the things that I found was really incredible was this concept of impermanence. Nothing is permanent. Everything is subject to change. And if we understand that there is nothing that's permanent, we can let go and create incredible things in our lives. Jack Caulfield, he was a Buddhist monk in Thailand. He trained in 1974 and he brought mindfulness into the West. And he says, once we see that everything is impermanent and ungraspable, and that we create a huge amount of suffering if we are attached to things staying the same, we realize that relaxing and letting go is a wiser way to live. Letting go does not mean not caring about things. It means caring about them in a flexible and wise way. Jack Cornfield. So letting go of my home in London and letting go of the property and deciding what I was going towards gave me a better outcome because I let go of what was and became more flexible to what could be. And this took a lot of the stressors away because I was moving towards what I wanted rather than moving away from what I didn't want. I was moving towards that home with a garden, with the high ceilings, and I created that into my reality. But when we are attached, we actually force ourselves to stay within the environment of what we have versus what could possibly be. Thank you for your attention and your interest. Please subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio. You can find all of our Talking Heads episodes under the playlist Talking Heads. Caroline Heward, Talking Heads 2022. You'll find all my episodes for last year. And Caroline Heward, Talking Heads 2023. There are many aspects of stress that I cover. And moving home and buying your new home is one of the top 5 stressors that we can ever experience. And that is because we literally have our foundations rocked to their core. There are many of us that are in that kind of situation, that we're not feeling a firm foundation for all sorts of reasons. I offer a free consultation. Please reach out to me on nomorestress@live.co.uk. Let's arrange that consultation. I offer my consultations on Zoom, Skype, Messenger, video or audio. And if you're very shy and you want that consultation, reach out to me on phone, which is +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. I look forward to helping you bust your stress. Namaste.